about to enter a world of true crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Hello, everybody. It's Jay with Guilty of Crime. Hopefully you saw my intro, and please like and subscribe before you forget, and if you have to go somewhere, whatever you got to do, like and subscribe. The crime crew, thank you all for being here. I just wanted to remind you at the beginning, in case people had to leave, I have a new setup today. I have lots of new setups. I wish you all could be here with me. I hope it's faster and better. I've got like 4 setups around me right now. There's a ton of things I've got going on. So, as Carly says it best, I probably have ADD, but it's good for you because I'm going to bring you a whole bunch of cases and I can't stop thinking about the ones that I am bringing you. And today we're talking about Jennifer Soto. And I can't stop thinking about that case because there's just so many things going on. And the more I think about it, my mind just, and I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, that Jennifer Soto is guilty. She's got guilty knowledge. She knows it. The police know it. And there's going to be 2 things that happen in this case. Either, number 1, she's going to flip and she's going to pull a Kayla Montgomery and get herself out of it that way. So her culpability is less. Number 2, she's just going to lawyer up like she has, be in a mental hospital, and then try to fight the case. Because I'm telling you right now, there's been no charges formally filed against anybody for the death of Madeline Soto. What does that mean, everybody? What that means is that the police are taking their time and putting this investigation together, and they've got the people that they need put aside. So Stephan Sterns, it's not why we're here today. We're talking about Jenn Soto and what her guilty knowledge is, and we're going to expose her, everybody. You all need to like, subscribe, and share this, because those people that are saying, oh, what if she's just a grieving mom? No, bullshit. I'm not buying it. But everybody needs to know that that's not the case. And I know the police are looking at her deeper than that. I know that. I really, truly do. They're looking at her deeper, and the things that they're saying and the things that they're not saying is very telling. So everybody, yeah. Hi, Rita. Before you leave, I'm glad you're listening. Sadie's mama, Carly, as always, Ben, Stephan helped her to conceal himself. Yeah, no, I don't think she did it. But if you stay in here, you're going to see what I'm talking about, and you're going to see what culpability. Not only do I think, the police think the same thing. You guys got to read between the lines. Go back to the other video. And besides reading between the lines, the cops are looking at her, and she's going to be ready to talk soon. Okay. So let's get into the episode then. I'm going to start out the episode with some new footage from, believe it's Paula. I think it's Paula Mooney, Plunder. I'm sorry, it's Plunder True Crime. We're going to start with that so we can get you into the Instagram messages. And we are going to see all the time that Jennifer Soto was spending over the years with Stephan Sterns and accessing her little girl to him, partially naked, bathing suits, whatever he wanted. And all times his eyes were on her. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to get into the deep stuff here today. I'm real excited and pumped up because this topic I can't stop thinking about. I have a 9-year-old, and it's really making me upset, and it makes me upset, the things that were able to happen. So let me put myself aside, literally, and play this for you and see what you think. All right. Let's go.
She's a girl, like with some money fear. So much so that she no longer sleeps alone. She sleeps with her mom or sleeps with me in my bed at 13 years old. She is not a confident girl. The boyfriend no longer lived there. He came this weekend. Why? I don't know.
Stephan Sterns has been in Madeline Soto's life since she was a 7-year-old girl. No wonder she had so many fears and was afraid to sleep alone per her grandmother. Maddie's mom, Jennifer Soto, posted a photo of Sterns and Maddie on Instagram as far back as November 22nd, 2018. The caption read, "I love my little chosen family, heart emoji. Today was a pretty wonderful day. Happy Thanksgiving. Hashtag my cooking skills are on point." Even though Jennifer had reportedly just begun dating Sterns that year, she already considered him to be a part of the family and a man to be trusted around her daughter. They weren't married. I don't even know if they were ever engaged. But photo.
I know you all heard that, and of course this is not. I mean, this is my channel. It's not Plunder True Crime, so I want you to hear 2018. Keep that in mind. We're in 2024. That's 6 years. She was 13. That's a lot longer than a lot of people think. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna look at these photos, and we're gonna see a lot of telling things in the next hour and a half. So sit tight. I hope you can at least listen, because yeah, it's a lot more.
Photo after photo shows trip after trip that the trio took. One photo from June 23rd, 2020 shows Maddie headed for the water in Venice Beach, Florida, with a man who appears to be Sterns following closely behind her. There's a tattoo on the upper right side of his back, maybe some sort of family crest. The caption reads, "The water was so nice and warm today," with a beach emoji. Then on December 27th, 2021, Jenn posted a photo at Mayaca River State Park. A 10-year-old Maddie appears to walk ahead of Sterns on a boardwalk. The caption reads, "Mayaca was absolutely beautiful."
Now, I don't think that she did it, everybody. So I'm not saying she did it, but I think she's culpable, and you're going to see how and what I'm talking about when I say she has guilty knowledge, and we're going to expose her for the guilty knowledge she has. We're not going to let her hide out. We're not going to let her change her name on social media and be smiling with some other guy doing something else. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to make sure she's accountable, and she either rolls on Stephan Sterns or she actually gets convicted herself. At least get a trial so we can hear the awful things that she let happen to her daughter, and she gave access to that evil man that looks like a devil. Watch these pictures coming up. He literally looks like the devil to me, and I know you all will see it too. There's a show on Netflix. Can't think of it right now, but the guy plays the devil. He looks just like him. All right, sorry about the interruption, but I got to.
Mundo 31 released a new video on March 26th, 2024, with additional footage of Madeline Soto's grandmother revealing more about Maddie's fears of sleeping alone. Titled Chronology of Events, 1 month after the Madeline Soto case. The video shows us a bit more from Yolanda Zambrano's interview uncovering sleeping habits. The link is below if you want to watch it in Spanish. They are releasing more information little by little, unlike WFTV, who at first only released portions of their interview with Soto, and Sterns then later released more of their full raw interviews. Telemundo 31 is slowly revealing their raw footage. Once again, we see video of Sterns standing next to the same car he's accused of transporting Maddie's body inside of on Monday, February 26th. Sterns talked with cops the next night, Tuesday, February 27th. Jennifer.
Now, let me ask you all something, and I'm just going to plant a quick seed in your mind. I haven't seen the footage, and neither have you. None of us has seen the footage, but we do know there's a second person in that car that's seatbelted in. Do we know that Maddie wasn't in the back seat? Do we know that she wasn't in the back seat and her mom was in the front seat? I'm not a speculation channel. I'm just saying. We don't know how deep her mom goes, but we do want to find out. And that's why I want you here. Like, subscribe, share, all the things. Paula, Plunder, True Crime channel. And then next we're going to go, you'll see. I'm going to keep going.
Jennifer walks towards the camera, holding her left hand in an awkward position. We hear more of what Maddie's grandmother has to say about Sterns being at the condo, even though he no longer lived there. She's a girl, like with so many fears, so much so that she no longer sleeps alone. She sleeps with her mom, or sleeps with me in my bed at 13 years old. She is not a confident girl. No wonder Maddie wasn't confident, with all the harm her mother's boyfriend would bring to her. But did Jenn or Yolanda wonder why Maddie was so afraid of sleeping alone?
The boyfriend no longer lived there. He came this weekend. Why? I don't know.
Tenemos hoy una press conference of VCA, si Fia, con eso sí, the Kissimmee police highlighted that the investigation is still active and they are considering all individuals close to the mother. They appear as suspects until proven otherwise.
Everyone close to Madeline is considered a suspect until...
The Kissimmee police, Madeline Soto's mother continues to cooperate with the investigation.
Perhaps her grandmother peppered her with questions, and maybe Sterns threatened Maddie never to tell. Her boyfriend no longer lived there. He came this weekend. Why? I don't know. Yolanda could be truly befuddled as to why Sterns was at Jenn's condo the weekend prior to Maddie's death. And which days over the weekend was Sterns there? Did Jennifer ever grill her daughter about what exactly was wrong? I know cases where one mother had suspicions of wrongdoings by her own husband against their children while...
Do you see how little she is, everybody, when she's with Stephan Sterns? This is going way back to 2018. So this is longer than we thought. Okay. And grandma had concerns. Maddie was saying it out loud. Her confidence level was down. And Sadie's mama, I'm just speculating here. We don't know anything yet.
While she was at work, that mom quit her job, became a full-time mother, and only afterwards she learned that her husband was harming their biological children. In a different case, a mother didn't learn about the mistreatment her daughter underwent until the girl revealed abuse she endured to a therapist. A horrible new case covered by Crime Online describes a man who wanted to adopt a baby simply to mistreat that infant. Was discovery the fear of Sterns and Jennifer? Had Maddie reached an age where she was no longer afraid to make an outcry or additional outcries to mandated reporters, if any others fell on deaf ears? Sterns may have found it easy to manipulate Maddie as a 7-year-old girl. After all, Maddie's world was smaller and she was more impressionable and easier to terrorize. But as 6 years passed and Maddie entered her teenage years, did she bravely say enough is enough? Did Sterns fear his fate if someone found out his secret? Did he get rid of her alone or work in concert with Jennifer? They say Maddie's mother is cooperating, but is she really? A single interview.
See, they say she's cooperating, but is she really? And MFAR, I don't think Yolanda's befuddled at all. The abuse rooted deep in the family, and I think Jenn was using Maddie's diagnosis as a scapegoat for the problems they were having, and she was also using her daughter as a way to keep Stephan Sterns around. You hear that? A way to keep him around. That wasn't just by accident that these things were happening and she didn't know. They were competing for his love. I truly, after watching this and what I've heard and what I see,
given to police, then lawyering up doesn't necessarily sound like cooperating, but perhaps it's a smart legal move. Sterns has 2 new entries in his criminal case, even if a murder charge still has not been added yet. As of this recording, dated March 20th, 2024, there's a response to the notice of discovery, which is a written response to questions or requests for information or items made by the other side in a court case. There's also a state's response to demand for discovery.
And Jenn.
The body of Madeline Soto was found in a wooded area of St. Cloud where the suspect Stephan Sterns' vehicle was also seen. Since then, mourning has reigned in the community.
In the name of Jesus! In the name of Jesus!
In Central Florida, that's Gerardo Bloa, who worked on very high-profile cases here, for example, the Casey Hunter case, and he indicated that it might be a strategy From the parquet, the prosecutor's office conducting the autopsy of Madeline's body, it might be a strategy by the prosecutor's office to build a solid case against those involved.
Ezekiel 17:24. All the trees of the field will know that I, the Lord, bring down the tall tree, exalt the low tree, dry up the green tree, and make the dry tree flourish. I am the Lord. I have spoken, and
in all of these pictures, he literally looks like the devil, and he has horns on his head the way his hair is. His eyes are black. This guy's just a demon, but we're not talking about him, so let's keep going. We already know him. He's exposed, and we're going to keep on this.
I will fulfill it.
Very sad, y'all. All right, let's give it up for Plunder True Crime. I think she recently added True Crime to her name because I remember her being Plunder. And yeah, she's got some amazing content. So thank you, Paula. We love you. Go subscribe over there, everybody. But I've got a better, well, not a better, I've got something really good for you tonight. And he has invited us all to watch this video, comment on it, like, share, subscribe, and react to it. Okay, it's something different than we have heard before. It's a perspective, and this guy, you're going to hear what he is, who he is, what he does, and why his opinion matters. My opinion doesn't really matter, so, but let's hear his. Mine doesn't matter because I'm not, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, or I'm not in the field. All right, so let's start it from the beginning. I just got this set up, y'all, so bear with me, but I think it's going well so far. So let me set myself aside again and put this man up. Let's give it up for, I'll put him on first. All right. We're going to give it up for the I can't even say it. Deception detective, everybody. Listen carefully.
And I want people like that to be scared. I want them to be afraid that someone like me will come along and catch them. And I will use their words against them.
Now, why can't I say it? Deception detective is right now. We're going to expose Jenn Soto, and why, you're going to hear why, but you got to just listen. Even if you're coloring or making dinner or whatever, hear me out. This is important to hear, and share it and like it, subscribe it, and get it out there. Okay, let's listen.
And I wish my channel were larger so that Jennifer Soto and Stephan Sterns would have been too scared to do this, because they knew someone like me, or one of the members or subscribers of my channel, or 4 members who have a bunch of great comments about this case, would be onto them.
You guys
would
too.
Post their case in the forum, and we would expose them.
And we are.
Unfortunately, it's too late for Madeline Soto.
But not for Jenn to be.
What does
prosecuted.
Jennifer Soto know about the murder of her daughter, Madeline Soto? I'm Deception Detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. In today's video, we'll analyze an interview Jennifer Soto did with WFTV shortly after she reported her daughter missing, to determine if she had guilty knowledge.
And she does.
If you're not familiar with this case, here's a quick summary. Madeline was reported missing on February 26, 2024 by her mother and her mother's boyfriend, Stephan Sterns. A few days later, detectives found photos of Stephan driving what appeared to be Madeline's dead body in order to dump it off in a dumpster. Police recovered her body, arrested Sterns for her murder, but have not arrested her mother, as far as I'm aware. So what we're going to look for in this interview with Jennifer Soto is whether or not she was involved in the murder, if she had guilty knowledge, if she was lying about what she knew and didn't know in this interview. The other thing we're going to do while we're listening to this interview is run it through 2 of my checklists, which you can find on my new forum, DD forum, forum.deceptiondeck.com.
Yeah, everybody, if you don't know DD, the Deception Detective, go Carly will drop a link for you and go follow him. Now, if you need me to slow it down, let me know. I'm playing a little faster. He talks a little slow. I'm a lot faster than he is. So if you need it to be slowed down, I can play it at regular speed. I'm not in a hurry today. I just want to make sure everybody knows about this and gets it out there. So let me know.
The first one is my missing child presser interview checklist. So when a parent like Jennifer Soto here gets an opportunity to speak to the media about their missing child, we can expect them to do certain things if they actually do not know what happened to their kid. For example, they will speak about their kid in the present tense. They will be cooperative. They will try to answer the questions. They will be inconclusive about what happened to their kid, because if they don't know what happened, there's no way for them to be conclusive about it. We can also expect them to address any potential kidnappers. So even if they're not sure the kid was kidnapped, they might still speak to the kid, any potential kidnappers, through the camera. Like, if you have Madeline, please return her to me. You know, she's my little girl. We'll pay you. We won't report you. Just return her, please. We can also expect them to address the child through the camera, because as far as they know, their kid might still be out there and they are on TV right now. This is their one opportunity to speak to their kid. So while a hoaxer might say, I'm wondering what's happening to my kid, I hope they're okay, someone who actually doesn't know what happened to their kid will take the opportunity to speak to their kid through the TV, because they don't know if they're watching or not. Finally, we can expect the parent to ask the community to help, and we can expect them to have some sort of call to action. Like, if you see Madeline, call 911, or call this special hotline, or go to the special website after calling 911. The other thing to look for briefly is my hoax checklist. So hoaxers, when people who are making up a story are pushing.
Yeah, this is really good for personal knowledge, everybody. I was using this today at work, so I want to play this because it's relevant, and this man is nailing it. It's very helpful, very useful, and for all you crime crew people that are trying to help find these missing people and see if people are lying, this is what he's doing, but he's using true crime to get the word out. So
a narrative in these interviews, they do certain things that indicate that they are hoaxing. For example, they're conclusive about what happened. We've seen that in the John Bonet case, Madeleine McCann case, William Turrell case, Summer Wells case. They are vague about the money shot. And in the case of missing child, the money shot is the point in time where the kid went missing. They're very vague about the timeline and the details.
Absolutely, everybody.
That's part of the story they made up. So they're vague about it. They are reticent about the money shot. So if they get asked a lot of questions about it, they answer in very short answers. In other words, they're not trying to communicate information. They're trying to withhold information. And we see a difference between their displayed emotions and their reported emotions. So just because a mother is crying on camera and sobbing and weeping doesn't mean she's actually sad if she doesn't tell us she was sad. So often you'll see with hoaxers that they'll be crying a lot, but they never actually report how worried they were, or how they shouted and screamed for their kid, or did anything that would indicate that they were actually scared the time the kid went missing, or that they're
Stephan
actually
Sterns.
experiencing the emotions they're displaying. Because acting is a lot easier than writing a script. All right, all that said, we're going to bear all that in mind, these two checklists, as we watch Jennifer Soto, because she is appearing on the news.
Okay. So the first question is, if I can have your last name, and spell them both out for me.
Okay. Jennifer Soto, JENNIFERSOTO.
Mother.
Mother.
Jennifer, tell me how you feel right now.
I feel like I can't breathe.
All right, the reporter did a good job asking a vague question. Tell me how you feel right now. Because Jennifer is answering a vague question, we should pay attention to everything she says.
Pay attention
very closely, because she's telling us what's on her mind when she thinks about her missing daughter. Remember, at this point, nobody knew what happened to Madeline. The body had not been recovered. Stephan Sterns had not been arrested. The first thing Jennifer says is, I feel like I can't breathe. So when she's prompted to speak about her daughter, she talks about not being able to breathe.
This is not the first person that said that, everybody. I know you heard him, and he said that. She said she couldn't breathe. It's not the first person, not the second person, not the third person that said that she was probably strangled, manually strangled, or asphyxiated of some sort. We do not have the autopsy yet, but more than likely she was choked to death. And that's what Jennifer Soto is saying when she says she cannot breathe.
She seems to be breathing just fine. In fact, she seems to be shaking and hyperventilating. So she's actually breathing a little bit too well. Why talk about not breathing? I'm sure that when the autopsy report is revealed, that they killed Madeline either by strangling her or suffocating her or covering her mouth and her nose to pass her out and then doing something else to her. In other words, when she thinks about Madeline, she thinks about breathing, probably because she's recalling something about restricting Madeline's airway. Could I be totally off? Of course, right? Leakage is cumulative. This is the first instance we've seen of her talking about breathing. I'm just noting it. If she brings it up again and again, then we can put some more chips on the cause of death. Let's keep listening.
All I keep thinking about is, where is she? Is she safe? Is she okay? But we're all a wreck. My entire family is a mess.
My entire family's a mess. I believe her. When people are under stress, that's when you can expect them to leak the truth. Which is why in my deception deck, in my card about eliciting statements from uncooperative witnesses, I give 4 ways to increase their cognitive load. One of which is to have them repeat the events in reverse. All right, so the more stress you can put on somebody, the more likely they're going to leak true information.
Art.
She's clearly stressed here, or at least she's doing a good job of acting like someone who's stressed and nervous by shaking and telling us that she feels that way. So when she says her family is a mess, I believe her. And as we've seen in the recent developments in the investigation, the family was in fact a mess. There seems to have been abuse, pedophilia, and even violence leading up to murder, right? So a gradual escalation of depravity.
Did anybody else know that besides MFAR?
We're just so worried.
When did you first realize, or when did you file a missing report?
We filed a missing report.
It's also interesting that she says, we are just so worried. Just is a minimizing word. So when she says we are just so worried, it indicates to us that she's probably feeling a lot more than that, a lot more than just worry. Maybe she's nervous that she might get caught. Right? So instead of the worry about her daughter being missing, she might be downplaying the emotions she feels about getting caught for murdering her daughter, or helping plan the murder of her daughter, or being an accessory to the murder of her daughter. At this point, we don't know what her involvement is. This is my first time watching this interview. However, it is the trending topic in the DD forum. So I have read some of the analysis done by members of the channel, like Jet Fuel Jenny, Sophia Brayland. Lots of them done very deep dives in this, and I've read parts of their comments.
That's okay. We've seen
so
it a
while
bunch
this
of
is my
times.
first time watching this myself, I have a good feel for this case already from what I've seen in the forum.
Us too.
We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing.
All right, so this is interesting as well. She says, we reported her missing, but she went missing. If you drop your kid off here, she's going to say that they dropped her daughter off at school or something like that, and the daughter wanted to walk to the school, so they dropped her off around the corner or something. That's like their story. If you drop your kid off for them to walk a block down to school, you don't know when they went missing. So the fact that she's saying conclusively she went missing at this particular time,
right,
instead of saying something like the last time I saw her was at this time, is a slight indication that she's being conclusive, that she might be pushing a narrative. And as you'll recall from my intro, conclusiveness is one of the checks, one of the signs of a hoax. So telling us when she went missing is a red flag. Telling us the last time she saw Madeline would be the correct way to phrase this.
Yeah, everybody. A lot.
We dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry.
She wanted to walk the rest of the way. What is that? It's a slight victim blaming. Think about if this mother dropped her daughter off a block from school and her daughter was kidnapped in that short walk. She would be kicking herself. I let her walk. I shouldn't have done that. I should have taken her straight up to the door of the school and watched her walk in. Not blaming the daughter. Well, she wanted to walk there, and look what happened. When your kid goes missing, your kid can do no wrong. You miss them. You feel bad. You're kicking yourself as a parent for letting anything happen to them.
You're not smiling.
We saw a similar thing in the Summer Wells case, which I've also done a series on, where the parents say, well, Summer liked to play outside, and that was her downfall. That's victim blaming. The actual parent of a missing child kicks themselves. Why did I let her play outside unsupervised? Why didn't I make sure I was watching her? I knew she liked to play outside. I didn't put up a camera. I didn't put up a Ring doorbell. I didn't make sure that she had a dog with her or that grandma was watching her. These are the comments of actual innocent parents.
Not just
like the mother of Michael Monkey Vaughn, who I've done a little bit of analysis on in other videos. Also, if you're watching this video, you'll notice that Jennifer Soto is smirking and smiling because I think like a parrot or a toy is making noise in the background.
No, it was a feeder.
That is bizarre.
So far, everybody's gotten it wrong. Everybody that's analyzing this has got it wrong, and somebody called it's a feeder, and I think it's Stephan Sterns' voice. So, yes, it is a feeder, and it's feeding the whatever one of the pets, and it's making that stupid noise because of his stupid voice.
Will admit also that her shaking nervously is bizarre. I've seen Pat Brown comment about the nervous shaking and saying it's the first time she's ever seen it. If you know my channel, you followed me for a while, I don't analyze body language. I try to ignore it. I'm just pointing it out so you know I also see it. I'm not factoring it into my analysis. I don't think this is, for example, Duper's Delight. People do bizarre things when they're actually distressed. So the shaking, the mother of a missing child who feels bad about being negligent and letting her daughter get kidnapped while dropping off at school could be shaking just as nervously as a mother who helped plan the murder of her daughter and is scared of getting caught. Right? So we can't read too much into the body language, and it can be dangerous and misleading to do so. It's much better to focus on the words because people pick their words out of a dictionary of around 30,000 words for the average English speaker.
Very smart, man.
As there's only a certain number of movements I can do with my hands and my eyes, I have tens of thousands of words to choose from, which is why the ones that people pick are much more telling than where their eyes are looking or whether or not they're shuffling their feet.
Yeah, let's just wait till that's done to talk about my daughter and get the information now that she's missing. Just talk.
We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way.
Actually, I'm glad we have that interruption. So one of the things I always point out in my videos where I believe the parents are responsible for what happened to their kid is I point out scripting, where it looks like the parents sat down ahead of time and came up with their story so that they could recite it to the police, to the news, and stay on the same page. It typically happens with co-conspirators, like the McCanns, in my opinion, are Candace and Don Wells, or John and Patsy Ramsey. When there's two people, the chances of their story getting exposed as a lie goes up by a factor of 1,000, right? It's much easier if you can lie alone, you say you're the only person there, and then the only way to screw up is if you contradict yourself in future interviews.
Oh no, he
when
told
there's
her what
two
to say.
people
They
involved
knew.
now you have to corroborate your story with each other in the present
and remember it
across interviews over time between each other. So typically what criminals do when there's two or more of them is they craft their story, they script it out ahead of time so they can recite it perfectly. And one of the indicators of a scripted story is that they recount it verbatim every time they tell it. And you can see this with Kate McCann when she talks about going into the room to find Madeline. Across years, her story has remained virtually unchanged word for word. So let's listen here. Let's see if Jennifer Soto, before that interruption, said exactly what she just said now. Right.
I'm going to pause it really quickly because Glitter Girl, the reason we're here is so that this case gets solved. It's haunting, but it's not far from being solved, okay? Stephan Sterns is going to be arrested. They're crossing their T's, dotting their I's. They have all the information. They've got the search warrant. They're just being slow about it to make sure they don't mess it up, okay? So we will have justice for Madeline. I hope it's not like Kayla Montgomery where the mom flipped. Oh, I want the mom to flip and tell what happened, but I don't want her to be out in 18 months. So it's not as haunting. It's haunting, but it's not as far away from being solved as you think. I promise.
Because if they did do something to their daughter and the story of dropping her off is a cooked up alibi, which we know it is now, we can expect them to have scripted that story beforehand, and she should tell it the exact same way both times, before the interruption by the parrot or the toy and after. All right, so here's the first time she says it.
We had dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry.
All right, we had dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. First of all, notice how vague that is. If the last time you saw your daughter was 2 blocks from the school near a park bench or 3 blocks away near a bus stop, you would be telling us that.
Yeah.
Because any little detail could lead to catching the person who took your daughter. So, like any scripted story, it's vague so that they're not pinned down to details. So that if the police say, there's actually a camera near that bus stop, they're not pinned down to that. And they can say, well, then we dropped her a block closer. So scripted stories are typically vague.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so let's see if the second time she says it, after this little interruption, it's exactly the same as the first time. We dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way.
Pay attention. That's his internet, not mine.
We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way.
Wow. Word for word. In fact, she said we dropped her off at school and then corrected herself to say close to school. That's a great indication that this story is scripted. I've not seen later. Stephan Sterns gives an interview. I wonder if he will say the exact same thing. And if he does, we can stack up a lot of chips on our bet that this story.
You guys let me know in chat if you want to watch the Stephan Sterns one right after this. I have time today, so we can do these back to back if you want, or I can come and bring another episode tomorrow, but I'm in it for the long haul. If you want, we can do the exact same thing right after back to back.
Story is scripted. And if it is scripted, that tells us that she helped plan the murder, or at least help cover it up.
Yes.
And was basically on board with the cover up at the very least, on board with what they would tell police and the news about it. And it's very telling that she said we dropped her off at school and then went back to correct herself to say close to school. Word for word.
I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share.
You share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know you had conversations with detectives.
So that might be all they scripted, right? So you're going to say, so what we're going to say is we dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. It's not our fault. We didn't do anything wrong. And we're just going to leave it at that. And that's why after she gives her little word for word spiel, she says she's not sure what to say next. If your daughter is missing, you say anything you can. And we have great examples of this. If you've seen my video, What Do Innocent Parents Sound Like? Where we look at the biological mother of Gannon Stouch, who was kidnapped and murdered by his stepmother. She did not ask the police, what can I say? Can I say this or that? She said anything she needed to say.
And we all would
anything
do
that
that
might help her find her son.
I'm so
Same
heated.
with Michael Monkey Vaughn. I looked at her interview with the interview room briefly in my last Summer Wells video at the end. And she admits even embarrassing things about her home life in order to help find her son, to put any information she can out there.
Not this case.
So the fact that Jennifer seems like she's giving a scripted story of what happened that day and is now being reticent regarding the money shot, which is another one of the 4 things on my hoaxer checklist, is not a good sign.
Not a good sign. Hasn't been.
Not sure what that conversation is, but whichever you feel comfortable sharing, that we'll put the awareness out there.
Yeah, she was spotted walking by the church, by the middle school on the cameras. They saw her hang out in the parking lot for a little bit and then get up and leave. They didn't see a vehicle or anything else. They just saw her walk away around 9 a.m. heading towards the school.
That hit me hard.
What has the school said? Have you been in contact with the school?
Yes, that they're doing everything they can. They've given me all their resources. The principal has called me. They've looked at their cameras.
That scares her.
I don't think they've caught anything on the cameras. It's too far away from the sidewalk. Everything is too grainy, so they can't see specific faces. But they've looked. I'm just waiting to hear anything else from them.
Is this normal?
So one thing you'll notice here is the reticence, where everything she says has to be prompted by the interviewer.
Yes.
Whereas actual parents of missing children, you can expect them to at least address a kidnapper, address a child, ask for help, provide a call to action. All of these things do not have to be prompted. The parents just do them because that's the entire point of the interview.
She's
when
trying
the
to
parent of a missing
remember.
child goes onto TV or onto a talk show or speaks to the press, and it feels like you're pulling teeth trying to get information from them, you need to ask yourself, why are they being so reticent? It doesn't always mean they're guilty. Right? It doesn't mean that they killed their kid. They might be being reticent because they were stoned at the time their kid was actually kidnapped and they're embarrassed about it. Or they're negligent and they don't want to admit that they were, passed out drunk, or that they let a child abuser live with them. So they're being reticent because they know more than they want to say, and they're ashamed of their contribution to the kidnapping, even if they didn't help plan it, or even if it was a legitimate kidnapping. However, if your kid is kidnapped, that should be your top priority rather than shame or embarrassment or being scared of getting brought up on other charges like possession or admitting that you were using drugs at the time your kid was actually kidnapped. So you'll notice here that everything she says has to be prompted so far by the interviewer, and she has not done any of the 4 of the 7 things on my list of what we expect from the actual innocent parent of a missing child to do in a presser or interview.
We want to put her in jail, Mima.
So keep listening.
Normal behavior?
Not at all.
To just not show up or call or text or anything?
Not at all, no. She, from time to time, she will leave her cell phone at home accidentally, and that's actually what happened yesterday. She left her phone at home. She went to...
All right, so from time to time, she will leave her cell phone at home. Do I believe that? Maybe it's true. I don't know any 13-year-old girl who doesn't go everywhere with their cell phone. And then we have the word actually. She says that's actually what happened that day.
Big flag.
The word actually is a comparison word. It means you're comparing one thing with another. For example, if someone says, hey, Didi, what do you prefer, hot dogs or hamburgers? And I say,
actually,
well, I prefer hamburgers. Actually, I prefer hot dogs because, last time I ate a hamburger, I got a stomach ache from the cheese, and hot dogs don't have cheese. So actually, I prefer hot dogs. I'm comparing 2 things. Which is why I use the word actually. Jennifer here, when she says actually, isn't being asked a binary question or to compare 2 things. She's speaking freely about the cell phone. She brought up the cell phone. So why is she saying actually? Actually can be an indicator of deception because it means someone's comparing 2 things in their head. They're comparing their memory with their imagination. They're comparing the truth.
She's comparing her story with Stephan's story. I know that. I've watched this too many times now. This is like the umpteenth time I've watched this, and she's telling a story that they put together, and she's remembering that and accessing it from up here. You can see her looking up and stopping, and she says the same things over and over. So yes, I'm in it for a long haul. This case goes deep, but we're closer than we think to getting people indicted. So that's why I want to keep it out there. I want to keep it relevant. And I want to make sure you guys all get this out there. So people stop saying to me, oh, your poor grieving mom. What? I can't believe you're putting her on blast. No.
With their script. And so they end up saying, actually, when in any other situation, it does not make sense. If she actually forgot her phone there, we can expect Jennifer to just say she left her phone at home. We could also expect her to say as the mother, and I'm kicking myself for not making sure she didn't take her phone.
Right.
Because if she had her phone, I'd know where she is. We don't see any regret about her involvement, but we do see a ton of victim blaming. She wanted to walk to school, which gave the kidnapper an opportunity to take her. She stupidly forgot her phone. Her fault. If she remembered her phone, she wouldn't have been kidnapped.
Yes.
So we have lots of subtle victim blaming, which is not a good sign at all.
Thank you.
Went to school. That happens from time to time. She's got ADHD. Her memory.
More victim blaming. Right? She's got ADHD.
Yeah.
If she could focus better, maybe she could have walked straight to the school door without getting kidnapped. And then she talks about her memory. Maybe she just remembered the path to school. She wouldn't have been kidnapped. These are not the things I expect the parent of a missing child to say. These are things I expect someone who was involved in the kid's murder or death or abuse to say. Because if you allow your daughter to get abused by your boyfriend and then murdered by your boyfriend, you need to do a lot of mental gymnastics to degrade your daughter in your own mind to allow that to happen. And I think that's what's coming out here.
So this is another episode about Maddie. Maybe you missed the beginning of it, but we have lots of episodes, Mima. And yes, we're talking about the little, beautiful, young Maddie Soto passing away and her mom knowing about it, being in on it, telling a story, and being a lot more culpable than we think. And this is why, right here.
Only seen 3 minutes and 40 seconds of an interview. This woman's daughter is allegedly out there missing. We haven't seen her describe her daughter. We haven't seen her say one positive thing about her daughter. We haven't seen her blame herself at all for allowing her 13-year-old minor daughter to be kidnapped.
Of course not.
Or any curiosity about the boyfriend involved in all this or who might have taken her. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a great textbook case of someone who has guilty knowledge.
Guilty
She's hitting
knowledge.
all the check marks on my hoax checklist. And the beauty of these checklists is these are old checklists I've had for a long time. I've featured them in other videos. But just look how predictive they are. We've applied these to multiple cases and come to the same conclusion when we see someone check all these boxes. And when parents don't check these boxes, I can safely say I think the parent is innocent, like Michael Monkey Vaughn. This is another old checklist. We've applied to multiple cases.
It's not rocket science, everybody. It really, truly is not rocket science. Science, missing child, presenter, interview, checklist. They talk in the present tense. They cooperate. Inconclusive. Addresses the kidnapper, addresses the child, asks for help, and a call to action. None of these things are being done, everybody. It's not rocket science. It's happened over and over. We've seen it. We've seen the parents prosecuted for these type of things that we're not looking at, but we're looking at it now. So that's what he's talking about. There's a checklist and she's doing none of them.
And it's just as predictive. So do I think Jennifer Soto knows more than she's saying? Definitely. The next step is to determine, did she help plan the cover-up, or did she help plan the murder, or did she participate in the murder?
Exactly.
She's very forgetful. So yeah, there's no way to track her right now because the detectives now have her phone. But this isn't normal behavior now.
What was the last thing, I guess, the conversation that you two had, you and your daughter?
We spoke about her birthday party. She had a birthday party on Sunday. She had a great time. I couldn't make it because I was working, but she had an amazing time. She was so happy with all her gifts. I told her good night, and yeah, that was it. I wasn't the one who took her to school in the morning. That was my partner. Yeah.
So she's saying her boyfriend took Madeline to school in the morning, but she has zero curiosity about what he might have done to her. If your kid goes missing, everybody's a suspect. I've said this in the McCann case. I said this in the Wells case. In both of those cases, the parents were separated. They weren't in the same place at the same time. If your kid goes missing, the other parent, like it or not, is a suspect, especially if this is not the biological father. This is just some boyfriend of hers. She has zero suspicion that he did anything to her at this point.
Yeah, not true.
If you're a mother panicking about your missing kid, everybody's a suspect, including the boyfriend. We don't see any curiosity about him. Why? Probably because she knows exactly what happened to her daughter. Also noticed their last conversation was vague. And earlier she said, we dropped her off at school. Now she's saying he dropped her off at school. Pronouns are one of the most instinctive things in the English language. When someone gets the pronoun wrong, you need to flag that as a giant red flag. When someone says we instead of I, or I instead of he or she, whenever someone gets a pronoun wrong or flip-flops, you need to consider the possibility that the story is made up.
Thank you.
That they're getting them confused because they don't have the firmness of a memory in their head about what happened.
Me too.
They have the more malleable imagination story of what happened. And people can make mistakes that way. So already she just made a pronoun mistake, which is a giant red flag.
Story, everybody. It's a story.
13.
Also, the other thing, when she was just talking right now, one of the reasons I came back to YouTube was the Ruby Frankie story, where a mother was publicly abusing her kids on YouTube. And I came back because it infuriated me so much that people weren't catching on. And I want people like that to be scared. I want them to be afraid that someone like me will come along and catch them.
And me.
And I will use their words against them.
Thank you.
And I wish my channel were larger so that Jennifer Soto and Stephan Sterns would have been too scared to do this because they knew someone like me.
Let's get it larger, everybody. Let's get it up. Let's get this up. Let's get this around, everybody. It's Deception Detective. We'll drop a link in there, but let's keep going. Let's hear this because it's really relevant and it's spot on.
One of the members or subscribers of my channel are 4 members who have a bunch of great comments about this case, would be onto them, would post their case in the forum, and we would expose them. Unfortunately, it's too late for Madeline Soto. They weren't scared of getting caught. Right? They cooked up their little story, their little script. We dropped her off close to school and she wanted to walk. They thought that little story would
Yep.
would be enough. And for Jennifer, it might be enough, but I doubt it. The police in this case seem to be on top of things. And I put all my chips that she will go down next.
Yes. So much. Let's go.
13.
But hopefully the next mother that considers doing this will think of us when they think that
Yes.
they're going to do something to their daughter or their son or their kid and get away with it.
Crime crew.
She's 13 years old. Yes.
13, Madeline.
Madeline.
That's the first time she said her name.
What are you thinking right now?
In my heart, I feel like somebody took her. This isn't like her.
Okay. And now we have the conclusiveness.
Like she's already
Somebody
dead.
took her. That's what the McCann said. That's what the Wells said. That's what the Ramsey said. That's what William Turrell's parents said down in Australia. If your kid is actually missing, that might be one possibility. But it's not the only possibility. So when we analyze interviews or pressers with parents of actual missing children, of actual innocent parents, they say they might be kidnapped. Maybe he wandered off. They put out all the possibilities because they want people looking.
Of course.
He might have wandered off. He loved going down to the creek. Or here, she loved wandering around. Maybe she got distracted by something because of her ADHD and she went into the park near the school. People need to check that park. There's nothing like that here.
No.
It's just conclusive. Well, in my heart of hearts, I think she was kidnapped.
To just pick up and run away, or just not go to school. I don't know what to think.
Absolutely.
Friends, the friend's parent.
See, I don't know what to think. Reticence again. It's like pulling teeth. If you look at the actual parents of missing children, they will rattle off possibilities until the interviewer reins them back in because they're curious about what happened to their kid. You know, maybe she wandered off. How can Jennifer say, well, I don't think she ran off, or I don't think she just didn't go to school? It's a possibility, isn't it? Your kid is missing. Maybe she left the phone at home so she could run away.
Right.
But there's no curiosity like that. There's no consideration of other possibilities.
Because she
They
knows.
pick one possibility, one narrative they're going to push, which in all the cases we've analyzed on the channel of guilty parents is a kidnapping because it directs the attention away from them. Rather than looking at the parents, people are out looking for a mysterious stranger kidnapper.
Bad story.
So this really is textbook. This is right there with the McCanns, the Wells, the Ramseys, and the Tyrrells, or foster parents.
Parents you've contacted and went through every single person?
Everyone that we know that she knows, we've contacted them all, reached out to them. The parents have gone out to search and look for her as well. And we haven't come up with anything yet.
I've seen a lot of
It's over.
posts on Facebook, Hunters Creek,
Yeah.
rants and raves and what have you.
It
Did
all-
people say that they were going to conduct some type
I
of
guess
like
we're
search party
done.
or anything?
A lot of people have asked me to volunteer, like if there is one, if they can do one. I have people passing out flyers, going to every store in that vicinity, a gas station, church. I think people are being.
People are asking her if they can search, not her asking people if they can search for her.
Did you hear that? Listen to it again.
She's been given a golden opportunity here to ask for help. She hasn't done it. She's been given a perfect opportunity for a call to action. You know, if you see her, here's what she looks like. We
None of
don't have a
those things.
single description of her.
You see
She
that
hasn't
lip?
even said Madeline's name,
She said it once, corrected
which is extreme distancing language.
one
We're
time.
stopped in the street this morning in front of the school to see if they've seen anything, if they've heard anything. My family they're going all out right now. Yeah.
I know as a mother, you have a lot is going on in your brain
So much.
to bring her back home. What have the law enforcement told you that you are able to share?
I mean, that they're doing the best that they can. They've had detectives come out, interview us. They
Are you kidding
took a
me?
piece of her clothing for the canine dog to see if they can sniff her out.
This
I'm not
scares
sure when
her.
that's being done.
This is scaring her.
Do you have any inkling where she possibly could be? Like
Yeah,
if you would say, okay,
does.
last time,
It's also interesting that she said to sniff her out.
Listen,
After they
guys.
took a piece of clothing to track her down or to lead them to her, to sniff her out. She might be picturing Madeline's body in the dumpster, right? Or her book bag in the dumpster that Stephen put her in. And so she says, sniff her out of something, right? Like she's inside a container. That could be a little bit of leakage that she literally knows where the body is.
I went to work and came back. She was at James' house or Sabrina's house. And maybe I forgot to check that house, or she played at this.
Even the interviewer here is realizing just how reticent Jennifer is. Notice how he has to prompt her, like pulling teeth, to talk about potential places that Madeline might be. So already we have her hitting all 4 signs of a hoax: conclusiveness, vagueness about the money shot, reticence about the money shot, and displayed versus reported emotions. She's shaking nervously and opening her eyes wide and pouting.
Listen, everybody, if you came in late, if you're here now and you heard me say it, we're saying it again. This is just a checklist. This is not body detection or behavior analysis or any of that. It's literally a checklist of 4 things, and then there's a checklist of 7 things, and she's doing none of them on one list and doing all of them on the other. So, I mean, I've been saying this the entire time.
But she hasn't told us that she is depressed, or that she went outside and shouted and drove up and down the street shouting for her daughter, shouting Madeline's name. Right? She hasn't reported any reflections of her nervousness. She's just displaying this bizarre nervousness, which I admit is bizarre. And then as far as the presser interview goes, we've had a golden opportunity for a call to action. She hasn't done it. She hasn't asked for help. She hasn't addressed Madeline. She said she thinks Madeline was kidnapped. She hasn't addressed the kidnapper. She is fairly conclusive that Madeline was kidnapped. She hasn't posited any other theories, but she was able to shut down that Madeline didn't go to school or didn't run away based on what evidence. I don't know how she was able to rule those out. Is she being cooperative? She's answering every question, but she's not answering them fully, and she's not being candid. She's not providing full, complete answers, which is what the interviewer is getting at right now. And I think so far she has referred to Madeline in present tense. So at least she's done that correctly.
She did.
This part one week, and maybe she went back there or something like that.
We've looked everywhere we could have thought, and anywhere she would have been. She would have known to wait for me at school. But we did check if she could have walked. My mom's office is close to the school. We checked there. We checked the walking paths that she could have taken. We've checked all of her friend's house.
That's it. We're done.
I think we've checked everywhere I could think of, honestly.
Yeah, that's it.
All of her friend's house? Does she only have one friend? I'm sure they checked one house, if that, which is why she can't bring herself to say houses.
Right. She probably checked.
In other words, it sounds like she's talking to CPS. She sounds like an abusive parent who's being questioned by Child Protective Services and is trying to give answers without revealing too much and trying to look like a good mother. But the Overton window has shifted so far with her. She has degraded her daughter so far in her mind that she doesn't realize that all she's done is blame her daughter and belittle her. Even in a public interview that she knows is being shown all over the news, she cannot help but belittle her daughter. Right? She has ADHD. She's forgetful. She forgot her phone. She wanted to walk to school. She got kidnapped. It's her fault, not me. She's 13 years old. She's old enough. She should know not to get kidnapped.
Right?
Which is sick. These people should be afraid.
Jealousy. I hope.
That's why I came back to YouTube. I want them to be afraid.
Thank you, sir. Me too.
What do you think? Oh gosh, I just had to tip my tongue. What was she wearing?
She was last seen wearing a green hoodie.
She was last seen wearing. Seen by who?
Yes, who?
This is a weird distancing way to respond to a question. Why is she saying it this way? Why didn't she say she was wearing a green hoodie? Or when I dropped her off, she was wearing her green hoodie and underneath it, she had a blue shirt. Why she was last seen wearing?
That's weird.
Because this is probably fabricated.
It is.
Or actually, we know why she did this. In order to conceal the fact that the last person to see her was the boyfriend, not her. Right? She's still trying to semi-paint the picture that she was there in the morning and she might have been involved in dropping her off at school when she said we dropped her off. So she's trying to conceal the identity of the last person to see her.
And tell
because
the
she's
story.
Not the last person to see her.
Black shorts, white Crocs. a black JanSport backpack with gray hibiscus flowers on it.
She's remembering a
This
story.
is not like her.
Not at all.
To run away, an argument, anything like that to provoke her.
She's never done anything like this, no. And we haven't had any arguments recently to
Sure.
have this outcome.
Any arguments recently? So that means they do have arguments. It is also revealing that they do have arguments that are bad enough that Madeline has run away in the past or has threatened to, right? So they have had arguments that are bad enough that Madeline could have run away based on one of those arguments. Because earlier it was Jennifer who brought up the notion that Madeline might have run away.
What school?
Hunters Creek Middle School.
Tom, any questions? No. Is there anything that you think our viewers would need to know about the way you're feeling, the family's feeling, Madeline?
All right, here is the opportunity.
There it is.
To address Madeline, address the kidnapper, ask for help, describe Madeline, put out the local phone number to the police if you spot her, to describe her, to say her name, right? She hasn't even said Madeline, I don't think yet, still.
She said it once.
Her name's Madeline. If you see her, she looks like this. She responds to Madeline, Maddie.
Nothing. She knows.
We're desperate for any answers, anything that you could do to help.
No,
I'm
you're
here
not.
for it. Just please, if you see my daughter, just please bring her home.
They will.
I just hope you're okay, Maddie. I hope you're safe.
Oh, there's
I
twice.
hope you're not hurt. I just hope she's okay.
Okay, so she finally addresses Madeline through the screen. She doesn't describe her. She doesn't describe her. So help her or whatever, any information. What are people looking for?
When did you notice that she was missing? Because this was at the beginning of the morning.
She got dropped off in the morning. We did not notice until after school.
Right, she got dropped off. So more passive language.
Distance.
She was last seen wearing a green hoodie. She got dropped off. Why do people use passive language? In order to conceal identities, right? She wants us to think that she was there when Madeline was dropped off. Or in fact, she wants us to think that Madeline was actually dropped off. But she can't bring herself to say it because she knows it's a lie. Madeline was never dropped off at school. So she puts it in the passive. The passive is another great indicator of deception. And in fact, it's such a good indicator that it is in the deception deck. The deception deck is my 52 favorite rules for spotting lies and manipulation. And as I said, the passive voice is one of the cards in the deck, and I'll just quickly read you that rule. Liars frequently use passive voice to minimize their responsibility. If the subject is missing from a sentence, particularly in cases where this omission results in grammatical awkwardness, it may indicate that the speaker is attempting to evade responsibility. In this case, Jennifer is saying, talking about dropped off or last seen in the passive voice because she doesn't want to take responsibility for being the last person to see Madeline because she isn't, or dropping Madeline off because she's not the one who did it. In fact, Madeline was never dropped off. So she puts it in the passive. So you should always be alert to the passive voice.
We should be alert to her, everybody.
At 4 o'clock when I went to go pick her up and she wasn't at school.
So we're going in 24 hours now?
Yeah.
Just about?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Nothing. No word.
Nothing.
No text message, no messages anywhere from her. I've looked at all her social medias. I've looked at all her games she could have played with, any app. No weird conversations, nothing strange. Everything was conversations with just normal friends or us.
She knows how to get home by herself, as if, like, let's just say, to take a bus or an Uber or something like that.
This part kills me.
She would know how to get.
She doesn't know an address.
Correct.
I'm not sure.
What do you mean? She's
I don't know if she would know how to get
13.
home. Maybe, I mean, I'm thinking if someone got in the car with her and if she pointed the way, what roads, she probably could figure out how to get. But like, does she know our full address? I don't think she does.
Which would give me it just puts in my brain that
is
she always comes home with someone.
She always comes home with
There's
me.
no need for her to really
Exactly.
learn. Okay. He said no, Tom? He knows everything.
We're coming up on an hour, so I'll wrap it up here. If you want me to continue looking into this case, let's get this video to 50,000 views. Please like, share, comment for the algo. On your screen right now is a video I recommend you watch next, as well as my playlist about Casey Anthony.
Yes, everybody. If you guys want to watch this next, I'm in it. Do you want to watch it next with me? I can put that on right now. So go, don't go. Actually, don't go. Don't stay on here. Let's watch this. Let's keep going. I was in it for longer and we sped it up so we can actually keep going. So I'm going to stop sharing this, pull myself back up really quickly, say hi to everybody. We have 261 in chat. Please hit that like, subscribe, and let's get the algorithm going. Let's get this out there to everybody. Let's get 50,000 views for me, for DD, the deception detective, and let's put myself aside again. As I do, I try not to put my emotions, although it's pissing me off that she's just out there lying like that. And some people are coming at me sideways saying that poor mom. No, not that poor mom. That poor mom, if I got a hold of her, maybe. All right, here we go.
As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart. We knew it wasn't going to come to an end. But now we're going on 24 hours. It's still nothing.
So it hasn't even been 24 hours, and they know it won't come to
Gave
an end.
up.
That is a giant red flag. If the allegations against Stephan Sterns are true, then he is a monster. But does that mean he killed his girlfriend's daughter, Madeline Soto? I'm Deception Detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. In today's video,
are you guys all good on board? I got a lot of people here. So we heard the Jenn Soto interview again for the 27th time, and we want to expose her. We're going to listen to this one just so we can see how it ties in, since it's the same video, and we want to hear. We already know that he's a liar and a piece of shit and a pedophile, and he needs to be in jail forever. But we want to hear what the deception detective says so he can keep helping us make more videos. And he wants us to be on his channel and collaborate with him. And he wants to come on and answer questions for all of you with me. So let's make that happen, okay? Let's keep watching this.
We'll analyze an interview Stephan Sterns gave shortly after Madeline Soto was reported missing to determine if he was involved in her murder. At the end of the video, I will also leave you with some food for thought about this case and the remarkably similar case of Sebastian Rogers.
If you know that.
The other thing we'll do in this video is analyze Stephan as a psychopath so that we don't get fooled. If you've seen my Summer Well series, you've seen me do this before. If you haven't, I think it's very valuable.
Very valuable.
All right, the first question is if I can get your first and last name and spell them both out for me.
Stephan Sterns, Stephan Sterns.
I hate him.
You seem very emotional right now. Explain to us. I dropped her off. Everything looked fine when I drove away. It's the last time we saw her.
This clip right here, the opening seconds of the interview, are the reason I decided to analyze Stephan as a psychopath and not as a typical subject. And the reason is,
tell us.
His body and facial language are very convincing. He looks like the father who's missing a child, right? His eyes are glassy, he's crying, he's sullen, his shoulders are sloped. He's very convincingly portraying someone who's missing their daughter, an innocent father. However, in fact, he's so convincing that the interviewer himself remarks upon it. It's the first thing he says. You look very emotional. However, when the interviewer asks him to elaborate on his emotions, he says nothing. Instead, he talks about the day, right? He gets straight into his story about what happened. In other words, he looks emotional, but even when prompted to talk about emotions, he doesn't do it. And this is typical of psychopaths. So in my list of foretells of a bold psychopath, I have convincing body and facial language, but even in their bold stories, they lack emotion and relationship details. So as convincing as psychopaths are at acting and faking, it's still difficult for them to write the script of their story as a normal person would, to use the correct words, because they don't feel emotions like you and me.
Especially
so even
with
though I'm
two
not
people.
a clinician and I cannot diagnose Stephan Sterns or Candace Wells or Don Wells or anyone, I find that these tells, for me at least, are predictive.
And when you have two people that are trying to remember a story, they're going to get tripped up. Remember that. Two people, someone's always going to flip. If you have three people, it's always going to be even worse than that. So if you're going to do a crime, do it by yourself, and hopefully you get caught so we can put you on blast and get you in prison and get you to get death row, whatever. I don't know what's in that state, but we need both of these people to go down. Jenn Soto and Stephan Sterns. Let's keep watching.
In other words, I don't need to update this list for every new person. If I follow these lists, depending on the type of person I'm dealing with, and I detect that they have psychopathic traits, I'm more likely to catch them in a lie because I know how to deal with them. In other words, someone like Stephan Sterns, he's very convincing with his face and his body language, but I'm going to listen very closely to his stories. Does he omit the emotions in his stories that you or I would mention? And that's how you catch a psychopath in a lie. One of the most difficult things to do. And it's extremely difficult because body language people and facial analysis people can't do it. They get fooled all the time by manipulators, by psychopathic manipulators.
Remember that when Dr. G explains, he was very soft. I was actually almost upset. I love you, Dr. G, but I was very upset that you were so soft on these people and you didn't call these things out. This is just a simple list, everybody. All right. I know you're not here to listen to me ramble. Let's go.
What were the conversations that y'all had in the car when you dropped her off?
Not much. She was asleep for most of the way.
Yeah.
Told her have a good day at school when she got out. I love her. She said, thanks. Love you too. That was it.
Another interesting thing here is Stephan meets the criteria of a hoaxer. In other words, his story doesn't sound true. And now in hindsight, now that we know what's happened with him, we know 99% that probably is not true. So how can you tell that looking forward? For example, his girlfriend, Jennifer Soto, has not been arrested yet, but I am convinced that she has guilty knowledge. And time will tell if my analysis is correct. Stephan does lots of the same things that she does. So hoaxers do 4 things when they're telling a story. Hoaxers are conclusive about what happened.
She'll turn on
they
him.
only tell a story when they're trying to push a narrative. That's the definition of a hoax. It's a fake story that someone wants you to believe. So they're conclusive about what happened. They don't allow for the possibility of anything happening because they want you to believe one particular narrative. Second, they are vague. In particular, they're vague about the money shot for the story. In a missing child case, the money shot is around the time when the kid went missing. If someone's lying, and they actually are guilty of killing the kid or getting rid of them, that's the part they're going to lie about. Everything else could be 100% true. So the money shot is what we need to pay particular attention to. If it's vague, that's unexpected. The actual parents of missing children, and we've analyzed some on the channel, rack their brains about those last moments. What did they say? Did they mention they were meeting someone? What did they look like? Were they jittery? Were they looking at their phone? Where exactly did I drop them off? Was it near a bus stop? Did I see someone sitting at that bus stop, some stranger?
Now, remember, everybody, we don't know. It's very, 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 very vague. The closest thing that we even have to anything right now is the time that her party ended, which we don't exactly know. We know it was before dark. And then Gray Hughes brought some information about Stephan Sterns being on Telegram at around midnight, 11:46 at night. And then the next morning, we know he dumped her backpack off. So that's all we know. We're missing a big time frame. The mom was home, not filling us in. Stephan Sterns isn't talking, and the mom's only talked once. So that's a huge part when your daughter's missing for you not to be telling.
In other words, real parents of missing children are not vague at all about the money shot. Third, hoaxers are reticent about the money shot. So the information has to be dragged out of them. And like I said, when I was analyzing Jenn Soto, it sounded like she was talking to CPS. It sounded like she was talking to Child Protective Services. Every bit of information had to be dragged out of her.
Right. Let's go.
And then we have the distinction between displayed and reported emotions. So hoaxers, just like psychopaths, are good at acting. They can overact because they know they're lying. They know they need to sell the story. So they might present a bunch of fake evidence, like a fake ransom note, like I believe the Ramseys did. Or they might cry or weep or shout on camera, but they don't report those emotions when they're talking about it because they haven't thought to include those emotions.
Right.
For example, when we analyzed Jennifer Soto, they asked her, did you search for your daughter? And she said, well, if anyone wants to search for her, I'm open to it. I'm down to help. That's not what you would expect, right? She can look all eager to help now, but she's telling us she didn't go out and search herself. That's not to be expected. That doesn't add up. Actual parents of missing children don't need anyone else to prompt them to go search.
And so where do you think she could possibly be? I mean, this isn't, as I was told, this isn't normal behavior.
This is not normal behavior. She's not the type that would just run off. We don't know where she could be.
Yeah, you
don't know where she could be. What is this? It's reticence. You don't have any idea where she could be? What are her friends' names? Could she be at a friend's house? Did she threaten to run away? No possibilities. In other words, extreme reticence. He is of no help at all to us. Whereas if you look at the mother of Michael Monkey Vaughn or the biological mother of Gannon Stouch, you'll see that they throw out any possibility. because all possibilities are on the table because they don't actually know what happened.
We don't
So
know.
even if they just have a best guess, they typically provide the best guess. They don't just say, I got no idea. I have no clue.
Right. It's
The
done.
other
Go
person who said,
away.
I have no clue was Casey Anthony.
We're scared. We just want her home.
Are you, in a sense, blaming yourself?
It's hard not to.
Why?
I dropped her off early. I could have waited longer. She looked okay. She was walking towards the school when I saw her. It was like any other day, so I went on with my day.
So notice a lack of details. She slept most of the way, so now he doesn't have to report a conversation. But she was sleeping most of the way. Okay, well, that means she was awake for part of the trip at least. What did she say then? We don't get any details like that. I dropped her off. Where exactly did you drop her off? Was it near an ATM? Maybe she got caught on camera. Everything is vague, which is typical of a made-up story. So why do hoaxers make up vague stories? There's two reasons. The first reason is they don't want to give details that they can be pinned down to. So if he says, I dropped her off on the corner of 3rd Street and Cherry. Well, if there's a camera on 3rd Street and Cherry at that intersection, the police can go verify that. And liars know this. So they keep it vague. That way, they can't be pinned down to anything that can be verified. And the second reason, most common reason, is they don't think of those details in the first place. So, for example, I saw someone comment on X,
the story,
another interview that Jen and Jennifer Soto did, where she hesitated to say what Madeline had for breakfast on the morning she disappeared.
Because she didn't have.
Why would Jennifer refuse to answer or hesitate to answer such a seemingly benign question? Probably because the idea of coming up with that detail never occurred to her and Stephan when they were orchestrating their story. And that's one reason why asking unanticipated questions is such a great way to catch a liar. And in my Jennifer Soto video, I said that I'll show you guys 4 ways to trip up liars.
We saw
and you can use
that.
these 4 ways to trip up a normal liar, like I think Jennifer Soto is, as well as a psychopath. In other words, an extremely sophisticated liar, like Stephan Sterns. So I'll go over those in a minute here. Let's keep watching.
It's hard not to blame myself.
What has the conversation been with Jen since?
She's been a lot stronger than me. She's been holding it together really well. But it just keeps coming in waves. This reality keeps hitting. We don't know where she is. We don't know if she's safe.
So look at the tear wipe. Now, most people, this tugs on their heartstrings. If you didn't know any better about this guy, how vile he was, you could be fooled. Most people are fooled by parents like this.
I wasn't.
I've had lots of comments on the parents I analyze of people saying, Dee, how could you pile more pain onto these parents? Don't you see they're grieving? How dare you? And that's why we ignore body language, especially when we detect that someone might be a psychopath, whether it's a bold psychopath or a calculating psychopath. And you can find these checklists in the DD forum, forum.deceptiondeck.com. So we ignore that, and instead we focus on the words and the checklists. And I've put a bunch of my checklists here in the forum as well. So this tear wipe here, if you didn't know any better about this guy, could fool you.
No.
We're just scared. We just want to home.
Have you, like, literally put boots on the ground, went out?
Yeah, I even went out with the cops where I had dropped her off.
I even went out with the cops. Once again, displayed emotion versus reported emotion. I'm crying, I'm weeping over my missing girl. Did you actually go out and search for her? Yeah. Only when the cops made me go out there and show them where I dropped her off.
We saw that.
The difference between what he's showing us and what he's actually done. He's telling us he wasn't running up and down that street for days looking for her or shouting her name or with the window down going up and down at night.
And remember, for you naysayers that don't think the mom is involved, which I don't think anyone on chat has said that so far, but she's telling the same story that he is, and it's very vague, and they're saying the same thing, and they're not saying the same thing. So they've got their stories locked in tight, everybody. So she is not innocent of anything. All right? So just clear that up.
Or knocking on neighbors' houses asking if she was there. When asked if he had boots on the ground, just like Jennifer Soto, it's only when someone else prompted them to do it. He didn't say, for example, I asked the police to go out there with me. I went down to the station, I grabbed an officer, and I asked them to help me look for clues. He said even, right? So I even went out there with the police. Well, what else did you do?
Nothing.
And we looked all up and down the road, all along communities, and there was nothing helpful. None of the cameras were pointing the street. Nothing, which in 2024 was surprising. the church across the street had some cameras, and they mentioned seeing her waiting around in the parking lot for a while before moving on, and that was it. But it was grainy. It was grainy footage, and not much else.
The conclusiveness. Well, that was it.
That's
It's
it.
grainy footage. So
let's go.
There you go. Instead of any curiosity about what it showed, if it was actually her, if there were any other cameras.
Oh no, he
she
didn't
was
want
hanging
it.
around there. Were there any other people with a cell phone? The lack of curiosity is what always stands out with hoaxers, because they're pushing a story. They are not actually curious what happened. They know what happened.
Everybody, in hindsight, I wish that interviewer would have went in there and asked the questions that we wanted to ask. But you know what? Those interviewers go in there and they do a really good job for us, because we're seeing this content and it's not about what they say. It's about what they don't say. And it's about how they say it. And it's about putting these two together, watching one back to back and seeing how their stories come together and the gap. We don't know what time the party ended. We don't know anything about the night of the party, after the party, in between the party, and anything before 7:30 when he was dumping the backpack, or when they saw a body maybe coming back. Nobody's filling us in, including the mom. Everybody, the mom's not telling us anything.
Opinion. He killed Madeline, or it was at least accessory if Jennifer did it. But they both know what happened. They both have guilty knowledge.
Does it seem like she walked west, east?
They said in the direction of the school. I'm not sure what that is.
What was the language? Not language verbally, language, body language. When you dropped her off, did she seem happy? Was she like, I'm going to meet my friends?
Happy. She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party.
Oh, yeah?
She was happy that we were all together here. She's just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet.
She was a happy kid. So he's speaking about her in the past tense. Remember, at this point in the case, when this interview was done, they didn't know what happened to her. For all they know, she was going to pop up at the door any minute. So here he seems to have slipped up. She was a happy kid.
Yep, that party slipped up on. And Mimi XOX111, we don't know what time the party ended, who was at the party. They have the friends and some of the footage. They've talked to them. We don't know yet. That's where the party pics are. There was some on Instagram, and we played those at the beginning. Who planned the party? We think it was partially the grandma. We don't know exactly, vague details. And the child's cell phone and laptop, we don't know if that was taken by investigators, because nobody's been arrested for her death yet, and the mom has lawyered up. So we're getting to that. Don't worry. I'm not going to go away from this. All right, let's keep going.
And this slip up is so big that is actually in the deception deck. So I'll read you that rule, and then I'll also read you the card for how to trip up a liar and catch an uncooperative liar. So if you're not familiar, the deception deck is my 52 favorite rules for spotting lies and manipulation. And first, I'll read you this rule about past tense. We just saw she was a happy kid. Murderers often refer to their victims in the past tense, reflecting their knowledge of the victim's death. If a suspect describes a missing person using past tense, it could indicate that the suspect is the killer. So each card has the rule. They're flashcards, so you can practice and learn them so you can spot lies on the fly, just like I did right here. So he spoke about Madeline in the past tense. It could indicate he's the killer. I personally believe he's the killer. And the example I give on the card, I give a real world example on each card, is the Susan Smith case.
Yes, Susan
She
Smith,
said that
everybody.
her kids wanted her and they needed her, and later it was revealed that she actually locked her kids in the car and drowned them.
Yep.
Okay, so we've seen this interview ask Stephan Sterns some fairly good questions, right? Like, what direction did she walk in? What was her body language like? But if I could advise him on what to ask Stephan Sterns, or in the case of Sebastian Rogers, a similar case that's going on right now, where these parents are actually going onto YouTubers' channels and doing interviews.
Yes, I love
this. Is an open message to them. So if you have a true crime channel, or one of these channels that actually got the opportunity to interview them and might get another opportunity, please tag them or send this to them, or clip this and send it to them.
Thank
so
you,
this is in my
DD.
deck, uncooperative subjects. The more emotion they feel, the less command they have of language. Hercule Poirot, one of the best fictional detectives. And here's the 4 ways to trip up a non-cooperative subject.
Listen up.
When dealing with uncooperative subjects, a key tactic is to increase their cognitive load. The stress of lying combined with this increased mental demand can significantly disrupt a liar's thought process. So you want them thinking harder. Effective techniques include 1, surprise, asking unexpected questions that someone fabricating a story is unlikely to have anticipated. Kind of like the question of, what did Madeline have for breakfast that morning? if they crafted their story about dropping off, that's what they focused on. They probably didn't think about going further back in time and making up what she ate for breakfast, which is why Jenn probably hesitated to answer that. She probably thought to herself, well, if I say Madeline skipped breakfast and Stephen in another interview says that he made her pancakes, it shows that we're lying, right? So surprise questions. 2, detailed questions. So probing for intricate details that are often omitted in a fabricated narrative. As I said in the Jennifer Soto video and this one, asking where exactly they dropped Madeline off would be a good question because it's detailed. That way you pin them down to something that can actually be verified. 3, reversal. Requesting the subject to recount their story in reverse chronological order. So you ask them to say, okay, start from when you dropped her off, and then tell me what happened before that, and what happened before that, and what happened before that. And by getting them to tell it in reverse chronological order, they have to work harder. So if it's a made-up story, it's more likely they will trip up and mess up. And you'll be able to spot more contradictions from the first time they told the story to the second time they told the story to them telling it in reverse. And 4th, speed. Demanding quick responses and imposing penalties for hesitation. These methods can effectively unbalance a deceitful individual, revealing potential inconsistencies in their account. And the 4th one, you might not always be able to punish the person you're interviewing, right? You have to have some sort of authority, like be their employer or be law enforcement or a parent. But basically saying, if you take more than 3 seconds to answer my next question, I'm going to think you're guilty and you're going to be in trouble, right? So putting on that adds extra pressure. A, because they know that a penalty might come, and B, because they have to lie quickly.
Now, you can use this for any case that's going on in my crime crew and everybody out there that's coming by. Please hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can come back. I do almost all live all the time. When I do my videos, I just go live so you can talk, chat. The crime crew is great. Hit that like button. And let's keep getting this out there. Somebody said that the prisoners are following this. We want them to follow this case. We want them to see this devil. They don't take kindly to pedophiles, everybody, at all. So please share this video.
When you combine all those, it makes it very difficult, even for psychopaths, to lie.
She's a very sweet girl. She brings a lot of joy to us, and we just not knowing.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down.
It's been like 48
Not
hours.
feeling her presence here is. Sorry. It's hard.
Oh, no, you're fine. No need to apologize. What do you?
Saying sorry is also another thing that guilty people often do, which is a form of leakage. So not necessarily saying sorry because they feel bad about what they did, but they know they're guilty, and the word sorry just slips out. Right, so it's not even conscious. That might be what's going on here. Casey Anthony is another person who did that. Another person who I also think is a psychopath. When she was on the phone with 911, she couldn't hear what the operator was saying, allegedly, right, according to the recording. And so Casey said sorry instead of something like pardon or or I can't hear you. The word sorry came out. It could be totally benign, but it could also be a leakage. Guilty people often find a way to apologize indirectly. So sorry just comes out. Could be what just happened right there.
What do you want our viewers to know when they see this?
She's a sweetheart. She's a very sweet, kind girl. Just please be nice to her. Bring her home if you find her. Tell her that we love her. Wherever she is, I hope she's okay.
If you find her, tell her blah, blah, blah. So this is actually part of my checklist on parents of missing children, what they should do or what we expect them to do, and what I observe that actual parents of missing children do when they get an opportunity to be on TV or on YouTube or basically get their message out there. They do certain things. So whenever you're analyzing something like this or Stephen Rogers where the parents are appearing, look for these things. Look for them to speak about the kid in the present tense. We just saw Stephan Sterns speak about her in the past tense. There's just one slip up, but typically we don't expect them to slip up at all like that.
That was the second time, everybody, that he's done that, number one. And number two, I want to jump through this and grab him by the throat when he says that she's such a sweet girl and she brought me so much joy. In hindsight, if you read those 36 pages of the affidavit and you saw what he was doing to her, and then you hear that, it's awful and dark.
Should always be a present tense because they don't know whether or not their kid is dead or alive, and they default to alive. Second, we expect them to be cooperative. So we expect them to answer questions fully and candidly. Third, we expect them to be inconclusive. So we expect them to be giving out any possibility of where their kid might be. Not, well, we don't know, no clue. Maybe she was kidnapped. Done. That reticence is not to be expected. We expect them to address any potential kidnappers because they don't know whether or not the kid was kidnapped. And Stephen semi did that there, where he says, if you find her, tell her we love her or something like that, or bring her back to us. But that also sounded like someone who might like he's picturing someone stumbling across her body, not necessarily a kidnapper. To a kidnapper, I would expect them to say, look, if you have my daughter, we will pay you. Just drop her off at the police station. We won't pursue you.
Right.
Just please bring her home. She's my little girl.
Yeah. If you find her
Fifth,
body.
we expect them to address the child through the camera. As far as he's supposed to know, he doesn't know whether or not she's alive or held captive somewhere. She just ran away from home because she's angry and she's Googling herself and finding this video on YouTube. He didn't address her directly. He didn't seem to even address a kidnapper directly. He didn't make an offer of a ransom. In reality, it sounded like he was addressing a potential person who's out walking their dog and stumbles across her body,
right,
and calls the police and returns her body to them. In other words, he might be actually picturing her dead body and the person who's likely to find her because he knows that she's dead out in a park somewhere. Instead of like an actual parent of a missing child who doesn't know. Could she be watching? Possibly. Could a kidnapper have her? Possibly. So I should talk to both of them. Sixth, we expect them to ask for help. Help me find my daughter. And then seventh, we usually expect them to have a call to action because they've spoken with the police, or even if they haven't, they know that my entire point of appearing here isn't to make me look innocent or to build up my alibi. My entire point of appearing on this show is to get people to help.
Bring her
they
home.
Typically don't require any prompting to ask people to help. If you see her, she looks like this. Here's a description of her. She replies to Maddie or Madeline. Call this special help number or call 911.
I mean, if someone were to come in contact with her and you gave me her diagnoses, would it be easy to approach her without any like agitation or anything?
Yeah, she's a good kid.
This makes me so mad.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence.
So once again, not a cooperative response. I would expect him to be assuring people, look, she just has ADD or ADHD. She's a normal little kid. You can go up to her, please just call her name. She's not going to do anything to you. She's a sweet child. He just says she's a good kid, doesn't address diagnosis, and more importantly, doesn't do anything to try to reassure people who, based on that question, might be scared about approaching her, to reassure them that, yes, she is safe to approach.
Sentence, waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school, to now speaking to me after talking to the police about her being missing for over 24 hours right now. And what complete sentence would that be?
A living nightmare. It's a living nightmare. Day started off like any other.
I wonder what happened.
I just want to wake up. You just get hit with waves of the reality just setting in.
Yes.
As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart. We knew it wasn't going to come to an end.
We knew it wasn't going to come to an end. How would you know that?
Because you killed her. And yes, this is Deception Detective, everybody, and he's great, and he invites me and you and all of us to watch. He wants to collaborate. He asked for that, and that's why I brought this here. He literally asked for us creators to share this and do a reaction and create with him. So he's actually not even a true crime community guy, but he does that to get the word out and for you guys to know how to expose people like this in real life every day.
Remember, she's only been missing for like a day or something at this point. Why would you have no hope of her coming home, especially when it gets dark? It's the end of the day. It's cold out. If she skips school, she should be coming home now. When he says this, it reminds me of O.J. Simpson when he says, well, I'll keep searching for the real killer for the rest of my life. Well, how do you know the real killer will not appear while you're still alive, or how it will take the rest of your life? John Ramsey did the same thing. I will keep searching till like my final day to find the person who killed my daughter. How do you know it will take until your death to find the real killer? They're leaking that they know what happened. Whereas the father of Natalie Holloway said something completely different. He said, I'll search until we get justice. Right? So putting no time limit on it. The justice could come tomorrow. It could come in a year. It could come in 5 years. It might come in a phone call within 5 minutes because he doesn't know. So this is not a statement. I'll play it again.
soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart because we knew it wasn't going to come to an end. And now we're going on 24 hours. It's still nothing.
Very
so it hasn't even
telling.
been 24 hours, and they know it won't come to an end. That is a giant red flag.
Very telling.
Conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive, and none of it's helpful.
How would he know none of it is helpful? A grainy photo could still be confirmed to be her, or a video camera. So this is where people slip up. They speak too conclusively for what they should actually know.
We just want.
Also, you might think, well, hey, Dee Dee, you're digging too deep into his words.
No.
Right? All he said was it's not helpful.
No, you're not.
How does he know that, right? So any bit of information could or could not be helpful. You or I, if we were in this situation, we wouldn't know whether or not it's helpful. If someone posted a grainy photo that could be Madeline online, I wouldn't know whether or not it's helpful, and neither would you, right? Because we don't actually know if it's her or not.
But we know now.
So he is speaking out of turn here. It is a red flag, as minute as it might seem.
Just want a baby girl back.
Tom, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up with this note here.
We're going to wrap up with him.
To definitely drop your comments on this video in the DD forum. As you
All
can
right.
see here, many members have.
If everybody did that already, I'm not going to detract from my channel. We love DD, Deception Detective. But today we're here to bring attention to Jennifer Soto. You call her hashtag Jenn Soto, Jennifer Soto, and exposed. Hashtag Jenn Soto, hashtag exposed. Please, let's get the word out for those people that are doubting that she's involved and people that are trying to shield her. And I have no idea why anyone's trying to shield her. She's already shielding herself. We just sat here for an hour and 37 minutes and we watched back to back. First, we watched the pictures that she took with her little girl since 2018, everybody. Her daughter was in a bathing suit, half naked on this pedophile's shoulders for years. He was going in her room and assaulting her. We saw the affidavit, 36 pages of assault on young Madeline Soto that's now no longer alive. Not only did he kill her, I would rather be killed than the torture that she went through. I don't recommend anybody to read that. If you haven't read it, if you have not read it, I would say don't read it. It gave me nightmares. Welcome, Daniel Bashner. Thank you. Everybody else, like, subscribe. Please get this out there in the algorithm. But today we were here to expose Jennifer Soto, whatever you want to call her. Hashtag Jenn Soto exposed. Let's get this out there, everybody. Let's get her out of that mental hospital and get her talking with the police. If anything, we need her to tell us a story. I know you all were here listening today, and I want you to know that there's a whole big piece that we're missing, all of us. I can't answer it, but we do know that Stephan Sterns said himself that it happened at night sometime, and that's when their nightmare began. And then they're very vague in the morning. The mom can't tell. Nobody can tell us anything. So everybody, I think the mom segments knocked her out every night. I think they did so she wouldn't have dreams about what was happening in the other room. But she wasn't knocked out when it happened, and she did collaborate that story with Stephan Sterns, that awful monster that she gave access to her daughter to. So I don't give a, it doesn't matter if she was on drugs or not. She knows she's telling a story. We just watched it back to back. She's telling a story with him, and if you didn't get to watch it, go back, watch it. It is very frustrating, everybody. And it's going to get uncovered soon. It's not gonna not be uncovered. It's happening right now. So I want everybody to know, go to DD's site, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification. Carson C, the mother is, we don't know, it's an undisclosed location. They're in Osceola, Florida. That's where this happened, in Florida, and the mother's in a mental hospital somewhere. I'm sure we could find her, but I don't want to put that much effort unless she's going to get arrested and the cops ask me to do so. So I just want to get her exposed. And Jenn and Stephan are so convoluted. They did not live together, and he was at the party because he was a predator, and it was her birthday. And of course he was going to be there because he was there for everything since she was a little girl. He had groomed her that way. And the mom was right there along. And I'm not going to speculate any further than I already have. Jenn was not home. She was at work. The party was at the grandma's house, supposedly, but I think it was. And that's what we know. That's what we know right now. So, yeah, her car was moved. I think she was hiding at her mother's house. There's a good possibility. Maybe it was the car behind me. Who knows? You see that car behind me? That's why I put it there. This whole story is creepy and it's not a story, but their version of it is a story, everybody. And I want you to know that. And if you have to go back and watch it again because you don't believe me or you don't believe DD, please think for yourself. Use common sense. Use your logic. Get the emotion out. Follow a list. And that's it. Game over. Watch what happens next. All right, everybody. This was my biggest live yet, and I appreciate it. I hope everybody hits the like button. I hope everybody subscribes. I hope everybody shares. Please get this out there. Let's expose Jennifer Soto. Jenn Soto, Jennifer Soto, hashtag exposed. Let's get this out of there. On that note, I'm out. Please come back, hit the notification on all of my videos, and I will bring you more content, and it will get better every single day. On that note, I'm out of here, everybody. Have a good night.
You are about to enter a world of true crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing, guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?